Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to do the Photoshop quiz. This is going to be the final thing for Photoshop, and then next week we will be moving into InDesign, which is the last module for this class. InDesign, again, is the page layout program. We're going to do a business card, a flyer, and a 3-page article for that module. We'll be working in Photoshop and Illustrator for that, for the module as well. So you get a little bit more experience with the other two applications. Okay, so again, today is the Photoshop quiz. You have all week to complete it. You're going to be recreating this composite image down here at the bottom. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but I want you to follow the steps that I have given you here in Canvas on how to complete it. It's what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks with the composite images, combining images and then using the layer mask to hide or reveal parts of an image. You're also going to experiment a little bit with blending modes and adjustment layers if you would like, but all I'm requiring is the layer masks and the blending modes be used on this assignment. Okay, so I have the instructions here as a PDF. And the same instructions are written there in Canvas as well. So you can download this PDF if you'd like. It's taking a few minutes to load here on mine. So this has the instructions. It also has another example down here at the bottom of how you can complete the assignment. Okay, so there's a Photoshop quiz folder that has the images that you're going to be using. In that folder, you will find the image of Big Ben, the image of the stars, a moon, and then 2 dancers. The images of the dancers are optional if you want to add an additional image in there to experiment with, but all I'm requiring in this particular composite for this quiz is the image of Big Ben, the stars, and the moon. Okay, so you're going to open up Photoshop, open up Big Ben, the stars, and the moon image. Because the images are JPEGs or PNGs, you're going to need to open them from Photoshop. Do not double click on them, as they will open up in an image preview program and not Photoshop. The image of the Big Ben will be your base or background image. With the image of the stars active, select the move tool. Okay, so these are all the instructions. I'm going to go over them. I'm going to create the composite in Photoshop using these same steps. I've added some little icons so that you know which of the tools are, and so you can understand a little bit better some of the aspects that we're working on with this. Okay, so I've already downloaded the folder to my computer. I need to expand it, so give me 1 second here. Yeah, get that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to Photoshop. I'm going to go to open. On the desktop is where I saved it. Okay, so in that Photoshop quiz folder, you're going to find the image of Big Ben, the dancer, 2 dancers, the PDF instructions of the assignment, the moon, and the stars. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Big Ben. And then I'm going to open up the stars, or the moon, and then the stars. Okay, so Big Ben will be your base image. And then I'm going to go ahead and move the stars over into the image of Big Ben. So remember, there's two different ways to do it. There is using the move tool and dragging the image from one tab to the next, or the other method is selecting all, so Command or Control A, and then copying and then moving over to the other tab and pasting it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the version using the move tool. You can use whichever version, whichever method you want to use. Okay, so I'm holding down my mouse. I'm going to drag up to Big Ben until the Big Ben is active, the image is active. And then I'm going to move my mouse, excuse me, into the image of Big Ben and then let go. And at that point, the image of the stars is roughly the same size as the image of Big Ben. So there's no need to resize anything at this point. But if you do need to resize an image, remember you're going to go up to the edit menu, free transform, or Command or Control T will bring up the free transform tool. And as you can see, the image is kind of, I just realized it's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to do Command or Control 0. And you can see that the image is a little bit bigger than the actual image of Big Ben. You do not need to resize it. Okay, you can just work with it the size that it is. But if in whatever case you need to resize an image, it's Command or Control T for free transform. And that brings up this bounding box so that you can resize your image. Okay, but in this case, I'm not going to resize it. So I'm going to press my escape key. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Because that's for the meeting controls. So I'm just going to go ahead and come up here on the top on my control panel, and I'm just going to click cancel so that it doesn't transform that that image. I don't want to resize it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my layers panel. And you should see in your layers panel 2 layers. You have your background layer, which is the image of Big Ben. And then you have the image of the stars. At this point, you're going to add a layer mask. So that is the circle inside of the square right here. If you hover over that, it will tell you exactly what tool or what option you're going to be using. It'll give you a little tool tip. So you're going to add that layer mask. You're going to make sure that your foreground color over here in your toolbox is set to black. Because remember, black hides or paints out part of your image, and then white will paint it back in or reveal it. Okay, so I'm going to go to my brush tool, B on the keyboard if you want to use the keyboard shortcuts, and then you're going to come over here into your canvas, and I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger just so I can kind of paint it out a little bit quicker. So I'm going to paint out the parts of the stars that I don't want visible around the edge of the buildings. Okay. And then I'm going to switch to white. So X on the keyboard will switch your colors back and forth. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush a little bit. And then I'm just going to come back in and fill in a little bit more of what I took out. Okay, maybe make it a little bit bigger. And again, this is entirely up to you how you want this to look. You could have just a little bit of stars showing, a lot of the stars showing. It's entirely up to you how you want to compose this image. Okay, so you're basically painting out the areas that you don't want. And then if you remove too much of it, you can go ahead and paint back in those areas by switching your foreground color to white, taking your brush and just painting back over those areas. Okay, so that's for bringing in the the stars. Over here with the moon, we're going to use the technique that we used last week with the selecting the background, which in this case is the black background around the moon. And then we're going to inverse the selection. So under the select menu, inverse. And then you're going to create a layer mask, removing that black background without, it'll give you a perfect mask that way, as opposed to what I just did with the stars, where I was painting them out, just kind of doing more of a blending option with that, as opposed to having the moon be a complete or a perfect circle to remove the background. Okay, so I'm going to select the magic wand. So the magic wand is the fourth tool down. If you see the object selection tool as your default, you're going to click and hold on that tool, the fourth tool down right here, and you're going to go to the magic wand. And then you're going to click in the black background, and you will see the marching ants, or the dotted line moving around the background and around the outside of the moon. Now, if I was to make a layer mask at this point, it would mask out the moon and not the background. So I want to inverse the selection so that the moon is selected, and then it will, once I do the mask, it will mask out the background. Okay, so I'm going to go to the select menu, inverse. Okay, and if you're interested in what the keyboard shortcut is, the up arrow is the shift key, the command key is the little clover leaf that is on the Mac, and then I. So you would do shift control I on the PC if you wanted to do that. If not, you're not interested in the keyboard shortcuts and still want to use the menus, then you're going to go to the select menu and then go to inverse. And at that point, when you do inverse, the moon is now selected. So you can see here that the marching ants is around the moon and not the background. So now I'm going to go over to my layers panel, and I'm going to click on the circle and the square to add a layer mask. And now it removed that background. And now just the moon is active. Okay, or not active, I should say. Only the moon is visible, not the background. Okay, so now I'm going to select my move tool, hold down my mouse on the moon, drag up to the Big Ben tab so it activates that, move down here into my canvas, and then let go. And now I have the moon. So in this case, the moon is kind of big. You can leave it that way if you want to. Again, this is completely up to you how you want to design or create this composite. But I'm going to go ahead and resize this moon so it's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command or Control T, to bring up the free transform. So Command or Control T will bring up the bounding box. And you can see I have that blue line around the edge of the image. Okay, well, that's letting me know that I'm going to be able to resize it here using the free transform option. I'm going to press Command or Control 0 on my keyboard so that I can see the entire bounding box of the moon. And then I'm going to go in one of the corners and I'm going to resize the moon. And just kind of eyeball it, how big you want it to be. You know, with whatever size you want the moon to be, you can, you know, resize it down to that. I'm going to resize it to about right there. I'm going to press the check mark up here at the top, or you can press your return key on the keyboard and it will apply that transformation. I'm going to go ahead and place the moon over here in the top right corner, but I want to remove part of the moon towards the bottom on the left-hand side, so that you can see the tower, part of the Tower of Big Ben. So I'm going to make sure that my thumbnail for my layer mask is active. And that's to be able to make sure that that happens. You're going to have a bracket key or a box around your thumbnail for your layer mask. Then I'm going to take my paintbrush, make sure that my foreground color is set to black. So I'm going to press X on the keyboard. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger. And I'm going to remove parts of the moon that are around the Tower of Big Ben. But now looking at that, I don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to undo that. So Command or Control Z a couple times until it comes back. And I think in this case, I'm going to go ahead and move the moon more into the middle. And then do the same thing. Select my brush, make it a little bit bigger, and kind of just click a couple times. To remove parts of it. Okay. And then I think I'm going to just experiment real briefly with the blending modes. To see if there's one that I like. Kind of like the way that one looks. Okay. So this is the basic steps of this assignment. You're combining the three images together. So your base image would be your the Big Ben. Then you're going to bring in or move in the image of the stars. You're going to mask out part of the stars. Again, it's up to you how much you want to mask out. And then the next thing you're going to do is bring in the moon, but you're going to create the layer mask on the moon image first, and then bring this moon, this version of the moon, over into Big Ben, and then mask out more of it if you want, resize it if you need to. Remember, Command or Control T brings up your free transform tool, and that allows you to resize an image in Photoshop. And then once you've moved it over into Big Ben, if you need to resize it, you're going to go ahead and do that. And then the final thing that if you want to do it, is bring in one of the images of the dancers and do the same thing. Mask out the background of the dancers. So let me open up one of the dancers. So I've given you two different dancers. So if you want to bring this one in, say you want to bring this one in, I'm going to hold down the mouse, go up, drag up until that Big Ben tab is activated. Move my mouse down into the image of Big Ben, let go. And then while I still have the move tool, I'm going to reposition the dancer where I want it. I'm going to add a layer mask. So the circle and the square. Select your paintbrush. And start masking out the parts of the image that you don't want. Okay, and you can see I have quite a large brush that kind of gives you a more faded option. If you want to be more precise and get rid of all of the background, then you would decrease the size of your brush, zoom in. So command or control plus will zoom you in to your document. And then you can decrease the size of your brush and go in there and be a little bit more precise with the removing the background or the parts of the image that you don't want. Okay. And then again, you can experiment with the blending modes. Until you find one that you like. Okay. I'm going to command 0 to zoom back out. Let me do command minus one more time. And that's the basics of this Photoshop quiz. So you're combining the 3 images, the image of the Big Ben, the moon, and the stars. And for bonus points, you will, if you put in the one of the dancers, you'll get some bonus points for that. Okay, so any questions or concerns, please email me. Again, this is the last section of this module for Photoshop. Next week, we will be moving into InDesign, and we will be using Photoshop and Illustrator with those with that application as well. You're going to create a business card, an advertisement, and then a 3-page article for in InDesign, and using Photoshop and Illustrator as well to convert images. Okay. So again, any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to email me. We are getting close to the end of the semester. So if you haven't had a chance to turn in your other assignments, your previous assignments, please get those turned in as quickly as possible so that I can grade them and let you know kind of where you stand. If for whatever reason you're still having any issues, please let me know. I want to work with everybody and make sure everybody's successful in the course. You will need to have all of your assignments turned in as soon as possible as well. Okay, so email me through Canvas or Gmail if you have any questions, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And I hope you all have a good weekend.